Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we are going to talk about flat earth again because I did a video yesterday about that. I knew that there were probably some people in my audience that believed in flat earth. I knew that there were people that believed in the electric universe. I realized that they're two different things, but I've heard flat earthers talk about the electric universe, like adopting it into their model. And I mean like individually, not necessarily in the entire community. But I wanted to just kind of address that, and I shared some things from Joseph Smith, and in fact, I should have pulled this up. But basically, I was a little bit shocked that there were so many people that were in support of flat Earth, and I don't mean a lot. I decided to do a poll to see just how many people that would respond to the poll believed in flat Earth. Here, let me find my entry for flat Earth on here so we can do a little bit of a review. There it is. Let's look at the poll. So it turns out of 1.1 thousand people that took my poll, 91% of them believe the Earth is a sphere. 1% believe the Earth is flat. 2% believe the Earth is flat and that it has a dome, because there's a couple different ideas about the flat Earth within the flat Earth community. 1% believe that the Earth is flat and that the 10 lost tribes are beyond the ice wall, meaning Antarctica. They believe that it's essentially an Arctic zone, an ice wall, but beyond that, there's more continents and so forth. And then 5% believe that the Earth is a sphere and hollow and that the 10 lost tribes are inside. So altogether, there's about 4% that said that they believe that the Earth is flat, various models, and then 5% believe that it's a sphere, but that it's hollow. Okay, so I got some comments with some really good sources to confirm that the Earth is a sphere, and that's the position that I take. If you believe that the Earth is flat, that's fine. I don't think less of you, and I would call for everybody to be kind to each other. You know, you may think that the other side is just insane for believing what they do, and but we're still members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we need to show respect. So I would call for people to avoid using things like, you know, the other side doesn't have any brains, they're indoctrinated, they're stupid, they're whatever you want to say. Let's talk with respect. Okay. What I'm trying to do here is to, like I've said, in case you missed the last video, there was a time a few years ago when all these like different conspiracies were getting like really big, really popular. And I was consuming it all, not necessarily believing it all, but inevitably I came across this idea of the flat Earth. And so I decided to look into it. And at the time, I thought some of those making those presentations made some pretty good points. But then I looked at the other side and realized, no, that of course that doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to go through all the evidence. This isn't a scientific channel. I will leave that for the people that do flat Earth videos and those that debunk them. But I would encourage you to honestly, with an honest heart, look at both. Don't just go to what you believe. Look at both. But I feel like there's a lot of things that are really hard to argue with when you go to the debunkers, specifically Professor Dave and Mick West. There's a lot of experiments that flat earthers will do to show you how things would work in their model, but Mick West does the same experiments, but shows how you just have to watch it. It shows how like sometimes those experiments done by the flat earthers aren't correct, or they're neglecting certain things. So anyway, I would encourage you to go check that out. Okay. But anyway, the purpose of my channel is to look at the spiritual aspect of things. And so in addition to what I already have, I'm going to share more with you today. Just as a reminder, I now have this row on my quotes A through Z spreadsheet called Flat Earth. It's currently on row 43. And let me just zoom in. So we went over this quote from Joseph F. Merrill, some fundamentals of gospel teachings, the April 1949 General Conference. We also went over this, Theodore M. Burton, Trust the Prophet. So that's what I had. And I forgot I didn't do this yet. I need to do it before I do the video. Otherwise I forget. But we went over another one from Joseph Smith where he just flat out said, no pun intended, where he flat out said that the earth is not flat, that it's a sphere. I'll add that later. If you want to come and look at this at my spreadsheet yourself, the link for my spreadsheet, all these spreadsheets is in the description below. This particular one is under the tab called Quotes A through Z. It's all alphabetical order. Currently, row 43 is for flat earth. Okay? So what we're going to do now is go over some of the responses that I got that give pretty good sources of information. Sorry, nope. Actually, before we do that, I decided to use my phrase tracker and look up how many times the word globe has shown up in General Conference. And it turns out it shows up quite a bit. If you're new to this, this is a tally of the General Conference talks that use these words and phrases. So the word globe was used in one General Conference talk in 2023. So if we pay attention to globe, or oh my gosh, to column C for globe, you'll see it's used all the time. There's all these different General Conference talks going back in time that use the word globe. Excuse me. So I feel like that by itself should tell you how the general authorities view the earth and the shape of the earth. Otherwise, they wouldn't use that term. You could say, well, they're just speaking in a way that the world, they're speaking according to the way the world talks so as not to, get things too controversial or whatever. I don't think that that's the case, but what I'm focusing on now as we move forward in this video is we're going to look at specific statements talking about the fact that the earth is a sphere. So the first comment that I came across was this from Hodge 6797. And he gave a scripture, and I should have already known this. I've never thought about using scriptures or like really getting into the gospel side of the shape of the earth, like from gospel sources. So I didn't think about this right away, but I'm glad that Hodge did. So this is from Helaman 12, verses 13 to 15. It says, Yea, and if he saith unto the earth, move, it is moved. Yea, if he say unto the earth, thou shalt go back, that it lengthen out the day for many hours, it is done. And thus, according to his word, the earth goeth back, and it appeareth unto man. It appeareth unto man that the sun standeth still. Yea, and behold, this is so, for surely it is the earth that moveth, and not the sun. So that's pretty clear right there. The flat earth will maintain that the earth is stationary, or at least most theories that I've seen maintain that the earth is stationary. It doesn't move. It's a plane. And that it's the sun that, circles around overhead over the earth, but not according to the Book of Mormon. And behold, this is so, for surely it is the earth that moveth, and not the sun. And of course, this is harking back to the Old Testament. I'm sure one of these footnotes will take you to the battle. Remember the battle in the Old Testament where Israel needed more time for the battle, and so the day was lengthened. Here we go. This must be it right. No, let's see. 13. I don't care. I'm not going to look. Okay, no, Joshua 10, 12. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel's son, stand thou still upon Gibeon. And the Book of Mormon says, it appeareth unto man that the sun standeth still. Yea, and behold, this is so, for surely it is the earth that moveth, and not the sun. So I feel that's really, really clear. I think you have to do some mental gymnastics to try and say that this says something else. So thank you, Hodge 6797, for sharing that. And then I got this quote from Kylon Rick. It's from Spencer W. Kimball. And it just so happens that I came across another time when Spencer W. Kimball said that the earth is a sphere. So the one that Kylon Rick provided was from a devotional. The name of the talk is Absolute Truth, which is pretty fitting for what we're talking about. Absolute Truth. And at that time, this was September 6, 1977, and he was president of the church. Okay, so this is our prophet in 1977 that's speaking. Okay, let me go down to the highlight. Here it is. And just plain and simple, he says, the earth is spherical. If all the 4 billion people in the world think it flat, they are in error. That is an absolute truth. And all the arguing in the world will not change it. Weights will not suspend themselves in the air, but when released will fall earthward. The law of gravity is an absolute truth. Now, this is a statement that kind of goes against the idea of electric universe, because the idea that there's not a fundamental force of gravity, but rather it's electromagnetism. So that's like a whole different thing. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight that the law of gravity is an absolute truth. It never varies. Greater laws can overcome lesser ones, but that does not change their undeniable truth. Okay, and then I have this talk. This is from 1963, April General Conference. This is when he was in the Quorum of the 12, Elder Spencer W. Kimball. The name of the talk is The Book of Vital Messages. All right, what does he say here? Scientists will read of unusual instruments never patented or remade or duplicated, of elements which, without recharging, illuminate dark spaces indefinitely, that at least 1,500 years before Columbus, these Westerners knew that the earth is round and revolved around the sun, or about the sun, and of a special instrument not yet equaled even in our own day with all of our laboratories and knowledge, like a round ball made of brass. He's referring to the Liahona, made of brass curious in workmanship, with 2 spindles, so sensitive that it was not limited to the cardinal points of the compass, but would actually give guidance regardless of direction, recording the feelings, emotions, and inner rebellions of men, and would function properly only where there was not human mental and moral discord. This instrument would point the way to the prevalence of animals to be hunted for food, and was operated by faith rather than by electricity or other natural means. An instrument on which would be writing changed from time to time, plain to read, increasing the understanding of those who read it. So here he's tying the idea of the Liahona, and I suppose the navigation via the instructions from the Liahona, to the fact that the earth is round. I don't know. That's just what he says. It's pretty clear that Spencer W. Kimball is saying that the earth is a sphere, once as a member of the Quorum of the 12, and then again as president of the church. All right, the next one, there's actually a few here. This is from Tammy Christensen, 387. And she provides a few different things. There's a couple quotes from Elder Uchtdorf, and then we have another thing from Marvin J. Ballard, 1929. And then there's a quote, and I didn't know that this happened, but there was an LDS astronaut that spoke at a general conference, the October 1985 general conference. So let's go ahead and read these quotes. And by the way, thank you everybody for commenting and providing your sources. So the first one from Tammy is God Among Us, April 2021 general conference. Elder Uchtdorf of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Okay, we all know that he was a pilot. He says, the people of the Book of Mormon lived on the other side of the globe. Their histories, cultures, and political climates were vastly different from the people Jesus taught during his mortal ministry. And yet, he taught them many of the same things he taught in the Holy Land. So here, he doesn't outright make a case that the earth is round, or that it's a sphere, but he does use the word globe. And I don't know. I'll save this. I feel like when you use the word globe, you are communicating around Earth, right? Anyway, okay, the next one, this is back in April of 2008, a matter of a few degrees. Also, at this time, he was second counselor in the first presidency to President Monson. All right, he says, let me share with you how I taught the same principle to young pilots. Suppose you were to take off from an airport at the equator, intending to circumnavigate the globe, but your course was off by just 1 degree. By the time you returned to the same longitude, how far off course would you be? A few miles? 100 miles? The answer might surprise you. An error of only 1 degree would put you almost 500 miles or 800 kilometers off course, or 1 hour of flight for a jet. We have one of our apostles is a pilot, and he's familiar with navigating the globe and jet routes and how things operate. I know that there's all these like different arguments when it comes to aviation, and anyway, again, this is not a science channel. Go watch whatever channel you choose when it comes to debunking to get the other side. You can look into the flat earth stuff, but I really feel like it does not hold up. It doesn't. And anyway, just go watch those guys. All right, let's continue. Okay, now this is an October 1985 talk called "The Heavens Declare the Glory of God." And in this case, we don't have a general authority that's speaking. This is Don Lind, astronaut. And I pulled up his Wikipedia page. Don Leslie Lind was an American scientist, naval officer, aviator, and NASA astronaut. He graduated from the University of Utah with an undergraduate degree in physics in 1953. Following his military service obligation, he earned a PhD in high-energy nuclear physics from the University of California, Berkeley, in 1964. And then there's more. Let's see. No, let me read some more. Selected with Astronaut Group 5 in 1966, he helped to develop the Apollo 11 EVA activities and served as Capcom for the Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 missions. Lind was then assigned as backup pilot for Skylab 3 and Skylab 4 and would have flown on Skylab Rescue. I guess that was like a contingency mission if there was a rescue needed. Lind was the payload commander on his only flight, STS-51B, launched April 29th, 1985. Yeah, so that must have been why they had him speak in conference. This is the October 1985 General Conference, so it's like just right after he made that flight. He designed an experiment to capture the Earth's aurora. Ooh. The payload experiments consisted primarily of microgravity research and atmospheric measurement. The orbiter Challenger completed 110 orbits before landing at Edwards Air Force Base, California. Okay, so that was the mission. So let's see what he said. So he was invited to speak at General Conference, okay? And you have to take that into account. So if the brethren know that it's a flat earth, I doubt that they would allow lies like this to be spoken over the pulpit. I truly think so. You have to think about that. You could say, well, the brethren don't actually know. Okay. But I think that they do. I think if anybody does know, it's the brethren. I think that Joseph Smith knew a lot. In fact, we just recently read how he had a hard time communicating things to the saints because they just weren't ready. There was so much more things that he wanted to say, so much more that he knew. In fact, maybe I can find that quote really quick. Let's see, Control F, comprehensive. Yeah, here we go. Okay, no wonder that Joseph Smith, by the way, this is John Taylor in the Journal of Discourses. At that time, he was in the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. No wonder that Joseph Smith should say that he felt himself shut up in a nutshell. There was no power of expansion. It was difficult for him to reveal and communicate the things of God because there was no place to receive them. What he had to communicate was so much more comprehensive, enlightened, and dignified than that which the people generally knew and comprehended. It was difficult for him to speak. He felt fettered and bound, so to speak, in every move he made. And so it is to the present time. Anyway, so Joseph Smith obviously knew a lot. it's pretty clear that Brigham Young knew a lot too. And I'm sure each president of the church knows a lot, probably more than what we know. So anyway, let's see what he said here. Just after last April conference, I was getting ready to take one of the most exciting trips that I can imagine. On April 29th, our crew rode the Space Shuttle Challenger into orbit. Okay, so here, this is where we come across our first challenge for those that believe that there's a flat Earth and that there's a dome, because they believe there is no such thing as orbit, because it's a flat plane, right? And space is not the way that it's portrayed by science, according to flat earthers. But here we have one of our own, a member of the church, and he was invited to speak at General Conference. And he says that he took the Space Shuttle Challenger up into Earth orbit. So that would go against the idea of the dome, otherwise known as the firmament, because people look into things very literally, or they interpret the Bible their own particular way. And will say that when God divided the waters from the waters, he had the oceans and rivers and lakes here on the earth, but then there's yet much more water beyond a dome that goes over the earth, right? So if you were to go through the dome, you'd find yourself, I guess, in a vast ocean or place where there's just water, right? And so you can't go to space. There's all these different arguments about the International Space Station and, missions like this. And I don't know. Here we have one of our own. He's talking in General Conference and relaying his story. Okay, so on April 29th, our crew rode the Space Shuttle Challenger into orbit to conduct a scientific mission called Space Lab 3. This was a personal thrill for me and a very expensive ride. Most of you, I am sure, have seen a space shuttle lift off on television. I can assure you that it's as exciting as it looks. I'm sure it is. Later on, he says, some of my personal feelings were very spiritual. To look down on the Earth from space is absolutely incredible. I knew ahead of time just exactly what I was going to see. I was intellectually prepared, but I was not prepared emotionally for what I saw. The world is very large. I knew that. But to see this huge, magnificent sphere slowly rotating beneath me was overwhelming. I have no ability to describe what it was really like, and no photographic emulsion can even start to do it justice. The visibility, of course, was excellent, but I was amazed at the intensity of the colors. I estimated that there were 20 shades of intense blue as the Earth's atmosphere changes from the gray of the curved horizon into the incredible black void of space. And when you look at an archipelago of islands, there are hundreds of shades of blue and green and yellow, tan that are just beyond description. The first time I had a minute to stop and just look at the Earth, the absolute beauty of the scene brought tears to my eyes. In weightlessness, okay, so now he's not only describing going to space, but actually observing that the Earth is a sphere. He also saw the curved horizon. And now he's talking about weightlessness in space, because that's another thing that's disputed by the flat earthers. Okay, in weightlessness, tears do not just quietly roll down your cheeks. They stay in front of your eyeballs. That sounds annoying. And gets bigger and bigger. And in a few moments, you feel like a guppy looking up through the surface of an aquarium. Yeah, that sounds upsetting to me. I'm sure that you somehow just maybe blink your eyes and then your tears start like floating off. I don't know what you do. But yeah, so here you go. Was there anything else? Yeah, there was. Okay. Another experience that is very close to me was to have this sacrament in orbit. We were in space for a full week. So, of course, we were up there on a Sunday. Our bishop had given me permission to hold my own sacrament service. It was a little unusual. You priests in the audience might consider what it would be like to try to kneel down in weightlessness. You keep drifting off. For privacy, I held my sacrament service in my sleep station, something like a Pullman berth. I kneeled on what you would think of as the ceiling and braced my shoulders against my sleeping bag so I would not float away. It was a very special experience. I will remember that sacrament service and the renewing of my baptismal covenants high above the earth all my life. I had some of that special feeling that you usually have only when you go to the temple. So again, just like always, I'll put the link for this in the description below in case you want to read the entire talk. But you have that. And now just a couple more things. This doesn't have to do with the earth as it is right now, but this also poses, I think, another problem or something that needs to be explained by the flat earthers, because you have to take this into account. So this is in the Doctrine and Covenants student manual, section 199, the law of tithing. This is discussing verses 5 through 6. Elder Melvin J. Ballard gave this counsel, quote, "Do we not hope and expect to have an inheritance in the celestial kingdom, even upon this earth, in its redeemed and sanctified state?" Right? Because we all know the destiny of this earth is to become a celestial world. It's not going to remain in a terrestrial condition. It's not going to be a telestial or terrestrial glory. It's going to become a terrestrial planet or a celestial planet. Okay. What are the terms under which we may obtain that inheritance? The law of tithing is the law of inheritance. It leads to it. No man may hope or expect to have an inheritance on this celestial globe who has failed to pay his tithing. By the payment of his honest tithing, I'll just finish it off even though we're talking about flat earth. By the payment of his honest tithing, he is establishing a right and a title to his inheritance, and he cannot secure it upon any other terms but by complying with this and other just requirements. And this is one of the very essential things. So we're talking about the earth becoming a celestial globe, a sphere. This is repeated again. I don't know how many times, but I have one other account. This is the April 1983 General Conference, Creator and Savior is the name of the talk, by Elder Mark E. Peterson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. He later went on to become a member of the First Presidency. And this is what he says. This earth was not designed merely as a home for mortals, however, not at all. It has a greater destiny than that. This earth will not remain in its present condition. It is to become immortal. It will pass through a refining process by which it will become a celestial globe. It will be a Urim and Thummim in the skies. That will require further acts of divine creation. And of course, ordinary common sense tells us that no spontaneous accident could produce a change like that. So here we have two witnesses that it's going to become a celestial globe. So if you were to try and fit this into the flat earth model, you'd have to accept the fact that, or you'd have to reconcile the fact that the earth is going to become a sphere. And you'd have to answer the question, well, why is it not a sphere now? Why would it become a sphere later? If it becomes a sphere, what happens to the dome? Does the earth just go up into the water? Right? So these are problems, but they're not really, because it's just the fact of the matter is that it is going to become a globe. And we have all these other statements talking about the earth currently being a sphere. So again, it's not my intention to upset anybody or insult anybody's intelligence or anything like that. I understand that we're all at different levels. We have different understandings. We have different life experiences. And sometimes we believe things that are not true, right? Of course, I'm taking the position that the flat earth is not true. That's not how the earth is. But I respect your opinion and whatever led you to that point. But I would like to ask you to consider everything that we just covered here, as well as the last video. Again, you can review this on my spreadsheet, quotes A through Z. Again, it's currently it's not going to stay this way forever because I keep adding to this spreadsheet, but it's currently, again, on, come on, where is it? It's currently on row 43. Over time, I will be adding to this because I'm sure that there's a lot more that's been said. I wouldn't be surprised if there's other scriptures, possibly in the Pearl of Great Price. I don't know. Again, I've never really gone through this exercise before. But, and if you have any further references, please send them my way. I'd prefer by email. It's easier to do that. I have a lot of emails, but it's better if you do it that way. Just trust me. But anyway, just consider these things, and please don't just brush them off or say that it's their opinion. You have to take it all in together. Primarily the spiritual. That really should be all that we need. But we also, go through the process of learning science. And if all you're doing is just consuming only flat earth material and you're not listening to the other side, then you may not have the full picture. And you may see how a lot of the experiments that they do or observations or their interpretation of those things may not actually be true. And I think you'd be surprised how often they're proven wrong. And anyway, that's all I need to say about that. I may do more videos in the future about this. I don't know. When you tend to talk about fringy things like this, you kind of lose a lot of people, but and that's not my point. My point is not to explore this topic and make it the main topic of my channel, but I like to touch on these type of things. But anyway, anytime if I come across new things, again, you can come here and you can see the new things. And if it's new, I'll have it highlighted, the cell highlighted in this blue color. So since we already covered this in this video, I'm going to turn it white, but that's one way you can check if there's something new. Again, I would ask you to be respectful in the comments. Please don't insult other people. Don't call names. Don't insinuate things. Don't be condescending. Just be Christ-like, and it's okay if other people believe differently than you. Okay, it's okay. It is okay. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.